This episode is sponsored by Smart Travel, a new podcast from NerdWallet. You know that one friend who always finds the best travel deals, picks the right cards, and somehow ends up in first class for the price of coach? How do they do that? Well, Smart Travel is like that friend, but in podcast form. They cover all things travel finance, like which travel cards earn their keep and which are just heavy, shiny metal, and planning group trips that won't ruin your budget or your friendships. So travel smarter and spend less. That's the key with help from NerdWallet. Follow Smart Travel wherever you get your podcasts. Armchair-Explorer is a part of the Voyescape podcast network. Check out all of their shows from around the world at voyescape.com.
Everyone talks about the first breath, and it is just an amazing feeling to step off and just inhale, and your lungs feel like they're freezing. That first breath is just so invigorating, and couple that with the landscape that you're looking at around you, and it's just like you've landed on another planet.
Have you ever wondered what it's really like at the bottom of the world? Well, today we're going to find out. We're speaking with Matty Jordan, who lives and works on New Zealand's Scott Base in Antarctica. Over the last several years, he's been to Antarctica 8 times and amassed hundreds of days on this quiet, contemplative continent where half the year is soaked in endless sunlight and the other half is cloaked in perpetual darkness. And today, he's taken us there for a year on the ice. Are you ready? Let's go. Welcome to Armchair Explorer, where the world's greatest adventurers tell their best stories from the road. My name's Aaron Miller. I'm a travel writer and your host. I've been dreaming about Antarctica for a long time, and not just from that tourist point of view of cruising through for a week or two. I'd love to do that too, but the real perspective on how it feels to be there for weeks at a time, to live and connect deeply with this wild place, this last continent as it's known. Antarctica is a place that has drawn some of the greatest explorers in history. And while our technology and jackets have massively improved, it still takes a special kind of person to commit to life on an Antarctic base. Matty is that kind of person. He's an Australian engineer with a serious itch for travel and penguins, more on that later, who's lived, worked, and traveled in over 40 countries on all 7 continents. If you're interested in life in Antarctica, and not just the really exciting parts, exploring ice crevasses and the like, but also the real honest truth about the joys and challenges of living on a base, you're going to love this episode. And if you want to get paid to see this incredible place, who wouldn't? Matty has an ebook about how to get a job in Antarctica, which he says is a great place to start if you're interested in pursuing a career down there. It's free and available from mattykjordan.com/ebook. He's also got a podcast, lots of great info in there. He also has a podcast, the Everything Antarctica podcast, which has a ton of great information as well, and interviews with people living, working, and doing science on the base. And he's an Instagram superstar with hundreds of thousands of followers for good reason. So don't miss that either, at Matty K. Jordan. And while you're at it, follow me as well. I'm on Instagram and Facebook at Armchair Explorer Podcast. I'd love to hang out, get in touch with ideas for the show and your travel dreams, travel questions, whatever it is. But the best and most amazing thing you can do if you enjoyed today's episode is leave a review on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. You can actually do it right now. Right while you're listening, it takes a few seconds. Just go to your feed and hit that glowing 5-star review, hopefully. But don't worry about anything other than that right now, because we're about to head to the bottom of the earth to spend a year on the ice. After earning his engineering degree, Matty had somewhat reluctantly entered the booming mining support industry. But he soon felt the creep of listlessness and burnout, a feeling that sat heavier and heavier on his chest as he struggled to get out of bed each morning. His dissatisfaction grew and grew until one day it burst. He quit his job and booked a one-way ticket to Ecuador, hungry for newness and adventure. And he ended up spending time in several countries down in South America as he learned Spanish, delved into new cultures, and crossed several iconic species of penguin off his to-see list. I did mention he really loves penguins. But eventually, he wound up working in construction and mining again, back at the same type of job in the same place. And that dissatisfaction started bubbling up again. Until one day, he was scrolling some job boards.
And this job popped up at Antarctica, New Zealand. And I just thought that would be just the most amazing adventure. So I read through the job description, was qualified for the role in every way, had experience not only in the engineering and project management side of things, but also just general adventure. So after spending time in South America and getting myself into some pretty sticky situations where you have no choice but just to work it out yourself. And that translates pretty well to the work that happens in Antarctica. So I saw the job description, called the recruiter, and I basically said, you can take the job ad down. I'm pretty sure I fit all the criteria. So I sent him my resume and he was just like, wow. And by the end of it, they just said, look, we think you're the best candidate for the job. If you can get to New Zealand in sort of 6 weeks, then the job is yours. So yeah, quit my job that day in Australia. It was just a personal challenge to do something different, and you know, the added benefit of potentially seeing an emperor and Adelie penguin in the wild.
If there is one through line for Matty's life and travel, it just might be penguins. Years ago, he set a goal of seeing every species in the wild, and considering 2 of the world's species only live in Antarctica, it was a no-brainer to accept the job. The scientists and crews on base go through extensive training leading up to the moment that they first touch down on the ice. They learn about everything from what to expect on base to how to treat cold weather injuries and how to stay alive in conditions colder than anything they've encountered before. Then they're fitted for gear, which for most of them is an entirely new category of clothing. Even now, as a seasoned layering pro, it often takes Matty 15 minutes to get properly dressed in the morning. And then 6 weeks later, after the pre-deployment training is finished, they're ready to take off and fly to the bottom of the earth.
You get incredible views, massive mountain ranges, huge glaciers, sea ice, massive valleys, just ice as far as you can see in all directions. There are sections where we fly over the coastline, so you get a view of the ocean as well as the mountains and how they interact. Lots of ice shelves, these things called ice tongues as well. Just wild landscapes that you don't really get to experience anywhere else. Every flight, no matter how many times I do it, I've flown to Antarctica 8 times now, there and back, so 16 flights. And every single flight, I'm out a window. I just can't understand. There are some people who go to sleep on the flight. You know, they might have been there for a year and they're ready to go home. And, you know, they're exhausted and worn out, so they just want to sleep on the way back. But even still, I can't understand that. I just need to be out the window looking out. It's just this raw beauty that you only really get the opportunity to look at, you know, for some people, maybe only once in a lifetime. So why wouldn't you spend the time just enjoying it?
Antarctica is truly a wonder of the natural world. It is both the largest desert on the planet and the largest single mass of ice, the Antarctic ice sheet, covering an area over 5 million square miles, almost double the size of the United States. In places, the ice is over 15,000 feet thick, more than 5 times as deep as the world's tallest building is high. Entire mountain ranges, lakes, and volcanoes are buried beneath its frozen mass. Icebergs as big as cities regularly snap off and float to sea. The largest ever seen was 170 miles long and 25 miles wide, nearly 7 times the size of London. The flight over to Antarctica from New Zealand is about 6 hours, a straight shot south across the Southern Ocean. And from that first moment, he saw that wild last continent. Even though it was just through a plane window, he knew his crazy risk had been worth it.
As soon as you touch down, the first thing they do is they open the back gate. So the tailgate flips down and everyone on the plane just goes, just looking outside to see what they can see as this gate comes down, and it's just white. You've been sitting in this reasonably dark plane for anywhere between 5 and 9 hours. And as soon as this tailgate drops down, it's just this overwhelming white, and you can't make out any details because your eyes are still trying to adjust. And this rush of cold makes its way into the plane, and everyone's in their full gear because we're getting ready to get off. And just that first sort of rush of cold air hitting everybody, and you can almost see it in a line as people closer to the back of the plane get it, and then it makes its way up towards the front of the plane, and people are just like, all right, we're here. Like, this is game on now. We step off straight onto the ice shelf, and everyone talks about the first breath, and it is just an amazing feeling to step off and just inhale, and your lungs feel like they're freezing. That first breath is just so invigorating, and couple that with the landscape that you're looking at around you, and it's just like you've landed on another planet.
Matty says when he landed the first time, his head was on a swivel as he tried to get his bearings, trying to orientate himself in that expanse of serene white brutality. From the landing strip, the new arrivals are trundled onto a vehicle called a Hagland, which is like an all-terrain passenger bus, and driven towards the Scott base. Inside the bus, the combined exhalation from everyone's jaw dropping instantly freezes the windows with thick frost. About 45 minutes later, they arrive at what will be their new home for the next few months, or for some of them, like Matty, for the next year on the ice.
You're greeted by someone from the research station who will say, yeah, look, welcome to Scott Base, and it's time for you to come in. And it's just a really welcoming feeling. You feel like this is the first time it's ever happened, and you're experiencing this hospitality for the first time, but it's a really well-oiled machine. It's been essentially run this way for the last, decades at least. So yeah, it's exciting. You feel like it's the first time, but it's just how things operate.
Scott Base is New Zealand's only Antarctic research station, located on the volcanic Ross Island in the McMurdo Sound. The base was commissioned in the 1950s and has been an active working hub for scientists, staff, and visitors ever since. Scientific research is the main focus of the base, much of it centered around climate change and projecting its domino effects around the globe. During their busy summer season, more than 300 people stay on base, and everybody has a precise role that contributes in one way or another to sustaining it.
We have people there that are the chefs, and their entire job is just to make sure that 5 meals a day are being put on the table to sustain everyone who's living and working there. We have people whose entire role is to make sure that others are safe outside. So when the scientists are out doing their research, oftentimes, if it's far enough away, they'll have an expert with them to make sure that they're operating safely in the environment. And then we hire all kinds of trades like electricians and plumbers and carpenters just to make sure that the base infrastructure is getting the maintenance and things that it needs. So
in Antarctica, the seasons operate around the stability of the ice, which forms, freezes, and melts in cycles each year. And come September, it's safe enough to drive those large Hagland trucks across. This is the beginning of the Antarctic spring, and this is when the fun really starts.
We're lucky enough to have access to Captain Robert Falcott Scott's Discovery Hut, Scott's Terra Nova Hut, a place called Cape Evans, and Shackleton's Nimrod Hut at a place called Cape Royds. These are sort of the pinnacle of exploration. They're some of the only remaining buildings from that era. Within a sort of 4-hour drive in a Hagland, you can be at Shackleton's hut. Within 3 hours, you can be at Scott's hut. And then the Discovery Hut, which is another one of Scott's, is literally just out the front of McMurdo Station. So you can drive a Toyota there in 8 minutes and go and have a tour through it. So these are the experiences that they're not open to many people. A couple of 100 people a year might get to visit them. So yeah, there's a prioritization about trying to get out to Shackleton's hut because it's the furthest one away. If we can't get there, then Cape Evans, Scott's hut there is an opportunity. But getting out to Shackleton's hut is kind of the pinnacle of recreational expeditions from Scott Base. So my first season, I was so lucky to be able to make it out to Shackleton's Nimrod hut. And it was an expedition that we took with about 16 people, so 2 full Haglands. about 4 hours driving over sea ice, navigating sea ice cracks, and the sort of glacier field training experts getting out, drilling holes in the ice to make sure that the ice is thick enough for us to continue and drive over, looking for leads and cracks where we can safely navigate around. And it's a whole expedition in itself, just getting there. Just the journey of being like, okay, we can actually see some seals on the sea ice over there, which indicates to us that there is open water there because they need access to the ocean to be able to fish and feed. So it's like, okay, that we use that as an indication that perhaps, if we turn right here, that's not going to be very good for us. So you're trying to read the environment and work out what's the best route for us to travel along.
Shackleton's hut at Cape Royds was built during the British Antarctic or Nimrod expedition of 1907 to 1909, the first of 3 expeditions he would lead to the continent. Traveling with him were a shore crew of 14 men, 15 Manchurian ponies, 9 sled dogs, and believe it or not, a state-of-the-art 15 horsepower motor car. The hut, which they brought prefabricated from London, was their home for 14 months as they conducted a number of geographical and scientific expeditions, including an attempt to be the first team to reach the South Pole.
Eventually, once you get to the hut, it's a small walk over a bit of a crest of a hill. And as you're walking up, you're just thinking, okay, this is remote. I am in a crazy location, so far away from everything. And you just develop the feels of what it must be like to have been one of those early explorers so far away from everything. And you crest over the hill and you see this hut. And I just remember looking around and everyone had the same expression on their face, just awe. We walked down this hill and the hut guides opened up the hut, and you're only allowed 8 people in there max at a time, but often people tend to be respectful enough just to sort of let you in there on your own, or maybe 2 or 3 people so you get to experience different parts of it just in your own sort of way. There's just a vibe when you walk through that door, and it's so hard to explain. But some people say that it feels like the explorers had just walked out the door and shut the door and left everything as it was. And there's clothing hanging on clothing line, and there are beds that are unmade, and there are shoes that have just been randomly thrown under the bed, and some of their food containers are still sitting there, the stove where they would have cooked their meals. There are sleds that they would have used on their sledging journeys. It's so hard to put into words exactly what it is, but it just hits you. It's a feeling, and you're just like, these men were built differently. Even now, looking back at it, I just thought if I had to live like that for a year, I don't think I would have made it. Just even knowing what I know now after 400 days in Antarctica, I don't think that I actually could have survived what they went through.
Shackleton's team achieved a number of firsts during their year on the ice, including the first ascent of Mount Erebus, the highest mountain in Antarctica. They didn't reach the South Pole, of course. After 2.5 months of man-holing across the ice, they were forced to turn back just 97 nautical miles from their target. Amundsen would claim that honour a few years later. But it was, at the time, the furthest south anyone had ever been. And it was expeditions like that, and Scott's and Amundsen's and others, the heroic age of Antarctic exploration as it's known, that paved the way for modern-day Antarctic explorers like Matty.
I think back to the way that they lived, when they often had to wait years to get a letter from home to give them updates on what's going on. And now we've got high-speed Wi-Fi on our phones where I could video call my partner walking down the hallways of Scott Base and show her my bedroom, where we eat, what my office looks like. And when I'm doing that, it's hard not to get caught up in the what would Shackleton think? What would Scott think? Even now, there's a research station at the South Pole, and it's a couple of hour flight from where we are to get to the South Pole, which is a journey that was so perilous that took so many weeks back in the day in the most treacherous weather and conditions. And now you can just jump on a plane and fly there. So there are things like that just make me think, I wonder what these early explorers would think of us now, looking at us in our big puffy jackets. It's really comfortable for us to go outside walking in minus 40 degrees, whereas you read the books and the adventures that they went on, and it's just like every single one of them had frostbitten fingers.
When it comes to creature comforts, modern day Antarctic residents have it much easier than the explorers of old, of course. But in many, arguably more important ways, the human experience of living in this wild, raw place is the same. Each stark, snowy vista is capable of stealing the breath from your lungs for its sheer beauty as much as for its fierce cold. To know Antarctica, to live there, is to be humbled and awed by it, whether you're Shackleton, Scott, or Matty Jordan. Especially in Matty's case, when there's penguins involved.
Just next to Shackleton's hut at Cape Royds, there's an Adelie penguin colony. It's the world's southernmost penguin colony, and at certain times of the year they're there and certain times of the year they're not. So I've been there in October and there's been no penguins. But I've been there in December and there have been thousands of penguins. And the penguin colony is, for many people, probably one of the most exciting things that they'll ever see in their entire life. The most entertaining little creatures. Adelies have such an amazing personality. They are super cheeky and they're so curious. So we've got a rule that we don't approach wildlife any closer than 10 meters because we don't want to disrupt what they're doing in their day-to-day life. So we often just sit down and keep our distance from them. But if they approach us, we can't do anything about that. So provided, we're sitting down and we're not making any rash movements or anything like that. If they want to come and approach us, then that's totally fine. So I would often just sit down on the ground and just wait. And it wouldn't be too long before someone goes, oh, what's that random thing over there wearing an orange and black jacket? I'm going to go and check that out. So they walk up and literally you could reach out and touch them. They come that close. They're so curious and they walk around you and then they squawk off and then a couple of their friends will walk over and be like, oh yeah, this is really interesting. And then after a couple of minutes, they just go, all right, that's boring. There's no food there and then they just walk off. So just incredible experiences where you can get so up and close and personal to wildlife, but in a way that's really respectful of them and on their terms, not on ours.
Summer begins in Antarctica in late December. The sun rises and will not set again until March. That means 24 hours of light, warmer weather, and a hive of activity on the base.
Summer's busy. It's when the station's at max capacity because we've got scientists coming and going and the support staff are working around the clock. But it's quite structured and quite a routine day-to-day life. But ultimately, we're all there to support science. The science comes first above all else. If the scientists need something, then the scientists, they get the help that they require. That's the beauty of life in Antarctica. It's been designated under the Antarctic Treaty as a place for peace and science. The whole continent sort of operates under that understanding. So scientists come down, they're often only there for a short period of time. There might be a couple of weeks, and then they'll take their data and their research and their information back to New Zealand or back to the mainland where they came from, and then they'll process their data potentially for the next year and then come down again, and everything else is kind of secondary, and you become really fast friends with people. It's like, yeah, you've got work colleagues, but your work colleagues are also the people that you recreate with after work, and they're the people that you share rooms with at nighttime. So oftentimes there are people that you're spending pretty much 24 hours of the day with. And because of that, yeah, you get to know people really, really quickly. And it's not just superficial conversations like, oh, how's your day going? And, is work going okay for you today? What are you doing outside of work? It's like, okay, where does your daughter go to school? What's she studying? What's her favorite subject? What's her favorite toy that she's got at home that she plays with? And, what are her aspirations when she grows up? It's just a whole nother level of understanding and human connection, which I think is, for me, the most special part of it. It's lovely to go down and look at the landscapes and see the wildlife and appreciate just the incredible environment that you're in, but it's the people that you meet that really make it so special.
During the summer, the teams work 10 to 12-hour days, 6 days a week. But on those days off, the start of summer brings new adventure opportunities too.
At the start of summer, when the sea ice is still there, we get the opportunity to go to a place called the Erebus Glacier Tongue, or the Erebus Ice Tongue, which is essentially the terminus from a glacier that comes from the land and is actually floating on the ocean. But when the sea ice surrounds it, the sea ice freezes and provides a base for you to actually crawl into these caves. So in the early parts of the season, the outdoor field people will go out and they'll find an entry into a different cave, and you can crawl through some spaces, and often there's a cathedral in the middle that's just a nice open area that you can stand in and you can walk around. And I mean, these caves are massive, like the size of houses, and you can navigate through different rooms and check out different things. But I mean, looking up, there's hundreds and hundreds, if not thousands, of icicles just hanging tight to the roof. And in some instances where the snow cover is not as deep on the top, that sunlight is penetrating through the roof and illuminating these icicles that are hanging above your head in a million different shades of blue. I remember there was one that we walked into, and the initial entry was like, "Whoa, this is the most incredible thing I've ever seen. Icicles everywhere, beautiful sunlight penetrating through the roof." And then, this guy said to me, "Oh, we've opened up this area. You can go and crawl under there and it'll take you to another cave." So I was like, "Okay, cool." Jumped down, and it opened up into this area that was just immense. Like, it was one of the most incredible things I've ever seen. And I was the only person standing in there just looking around until, a couple of minutes later, I was joined by a few other people that had got word that this was actually pretty cool. But having that experience just to stand in there on my own and away from everything else, and you just take it all in, and you don't want to take photos of that. You just want to sit there and stare in awe. You just can't take your eyes off it. Like, literally, there might be one other person who's ever stood in this place.
The ice creaking and shifting through each season is the true clock of Antarctica, creating and dissolving entire worlds within its glimmering mass of marbled blue-white walls. This is a world of frozen, sirenic beauty. But as the eternal sun of summer wanes, darkness begins to fall. The base quietens, most of the scientists depart, and only the skeleton winter crew, a group of fewer than 20 people, remains.
The most incredible experience for me throughout that period is watching the sun disappear for the last time. So the sun sets for the first time after summer around late February. So it will essentially just be circling down, and it will just drop below the horizon for a matter of a minute, and then it will continue the day. But as the transition through to winter continues, the sunsets get longer and longer until you reach a point towards late April where the sun will disappear for the last time. And that moment is one of the really pinnacle moments for the Winter Rover team, because that is the moment where it sets in, like, this is it now. We have just experienced 4 months of the sun above the horizon, and we're going into a point where we're experiencing the next 4 months without seeing the sun. So it's not pitch black. The sun doesn't disappear and then instantly it's stars everywhere. You still get an extended period of twilight where you get these incredible colors, from yellows to oranges and pinks and purples and reds and all sorts of different shades of blue and white. And when people think of Antarctica, they just think, oh, it's white and the sky's blue. There's two colors in Antarctica, how cool. But over that autumn period, as the seasons start changing from summer to winter, is arguably my favorite time of year. So we also get the period probably from the start of April through to the end of April, where we get nights that are dark enough for the auroras, but then during the day we also get the sun up and these incredible sunlight colors and sunrise colors, and they last for hours and hours. So the sun will go down, but it's not disappearing far enough over the horizon for the colors to completely disappear. So you might get sunsets that last for hours, and the sunset might blend into the sunrise, and vice versa when you come out the other end.
As winter descends in earnest, the pace of life slows. Without scientists and visitors, without sunlight, the staff sees only their base and only each other. Day in and day out, they pass the time in their haven of warmth, a dot in the vast darkness around them.
It establishes this really strong group dynamic and this bond that you're all in this together, no matter what happens over the next 4 months. We went 118 days without seeing the sun. So there are a whole lot of physical and mental aspects that coincide with all of that, but you stick together and you make sure that your mates are okay and you check in on them and you have conversations about all sorts of things to do with, mental health and well-being that you just wouldn't have in the regular world because, it's not a manly thing to do. But in Antarctica, because everyone's going through the exact same experience, and while not everyone's going to have a hard time at the same time and not everyone's going to be feeling great at the same time, you can almost guarantee that someone's going to be having a hard time at any given point in time of those 17 people. So you really, really look after each other. And again, it comes back to that human connection and those bonds that you build with people. It's on a much deeper level.
Matty has learned many skills since taking his job in Antarctica. He's now well versed in polar project management and all the specific logistics and challenges that come with that. He knows how to navigate safely across snow bridges, how to crawl into ice caves, descend into crevasses, and take incredible sunset photos. Most of all, though, it's taught him to be self-reliant, and it's given him the confidence to keep pursuing his dreams.
It gets under your skin and it's quite infectious. And it's, for me, this is the purest idea of finding your passion and running with it and being excited to go to work every day. And, they say the old cliche, if you're doing what you love, then you never work a day in your life kind of thing. And for me, it very much feels like that. The work parts, obviously there are hard bits and, there are things that you really need to get stuck into and dedicate a whole bunch of time to. But at the end of it, once it's finished, it's hugely rewarding, and you look back on the experience and go, that was, I learned, I've developed as a person, I've come out the other end with some new skills and knowledge, and you know what, I'm keen for the next challenge, bring it on. So before I wintered over in Antarctica, I'm like, wintering over in Antarctica is easily going to be the hardest thing I ever do in my life. We all experience, things that are difficult, but if you approach them with an attitude of, this is going to be okay and I'm going to push through and find a solution to this, then I think that's a really cool way to live your life. That's not quite a mentality that I had before I did this, but having come back now, it's just like, bring it on. If it's going to be tough, let's see how I go as a person. Let's see what I learn from this experience. Let's see what the next challenge is going to bring, and I'll get through it at the end of the day.
In the heart of winter, the time outdoors is limited. The average temperature is about minus 20 degrees Fahrenheit. But as the year draws to a close, in the pure darkness of that endless Antarctic night before the sun rises once again, something else is revealed. And if you can stand the cold and isolation and vulnerability of winter, it is perhaps the most magical thing of all.
I think unless you've seen how many stars there actually are in the night sky, you just can't appreciate how many stars there are in the night sky. It's unreal. I mean, being able to see the band of the Milky Way just completely naked eye and so visible. For me, I've been lucky enough to experience the night sky in sort of remote Western Australia and see what it's like away from light pollution, but nothing compares to what it's like in Antarctica in the middle of winter. The air is so crisp. It's so dry. There's no humidity. There's no light pollution at all. You've got a couple of external lights from the research station that if you make friends with the electrician like I did, they show you where the light switch is. So you can just go and turn them off anyway. Even with the lights from the station, you can just look up and it's still the brightest night sky you've ever seen. I remember just one day in the middle of winter, we had a reasonably large auroral storm, and just looking outside and looking at the sky and seeing these green and red curtains of light just flickering away above the Milky Way and millions of stars. And I just walked away from station and just laid down in the snow, just looking up at the sky, and it's completely silent. There's just no noise at all. You can't hear the hum from the buildings. You can't hear the rattle and creak. You can't hear vehicles. There's no birds. There's just no noise at all. It's so pure and utterly silent that you can almost hear your own heartbeat. You can almost hear the blood trickling through your ears. It's that silent. So I think just a desire to get away from it all. And I mean, it fundamentally changes you as a person having experienced that. And it really does initiate this real sense of desire to want to protect what we've got.
And ultimately, that is why Antarctica is so precious, and that is why Matty and the hundreds of people that work there come. Antarctica is the canary in the coal mine of climate change. Each year, the ice shelves reform a little bit smaller, glaciers melt, and some stop reappearing. Animals struggle to find a stable place to live. And deep within the ice, the Antarctic also holds one of the most complete records of climatic shifts on the planet, stretching back thousands of years. Ice cores taken from this are like photographs back in time, recording air temperature, chemistry, and more. By literally looking into the depths of Antarctica itself, we can see our past and maybe help predict our future too. But as the planet changes, people are responding. They're innovating, they're modeling, they're educating. The science and research conducted at Scott Pace is no small part of that fight against climate change. And together, some of the world's smartest, most ambitious people alive are working to protect, as Matty says, what we've got. Because while Antarctica is a place most of us will never see, it might be the most important place on the planet, this last enduring wilderness at the bottom of the world. Thank you so much, Matty, for taking the time to chat with us today and share more about what it's like to live on the ice. If you're a bit like me and are now dreaming of spending some time working and living on the ice as well, you can find that free ebook about how to get a job in Antarctica at mattykjordan.com/ebook. I don't know about you, but as soon as that job posting for a podcaster comes up, I am on it. You can follow Matty on Instagram too, at MattyKJordan. He also launched his own podcast, which is called Everything Antarctica. Great resource, and you can give that a listen wherever you find your podcasts. So until next time, thank you so much for listening. Thank you for all your support. Thank you for going right now to leave that glowing 5-star review or tell a friend about the show. But most of all, keep looking for those moments of beauty and connection, because the more we look for wonder in the world, the more the wonder of the world becomes a part of who we are. Dare to be truly alive. This episode was produced by Armchair Productions. Find our other shows at armchair-productions.com. Jenny Allison did the guest booking and co-wrote the episode along with me. I produced the show. Charles Tyree does the audio editing and sound design, and our theme music was written by the artist Sweet Chat. Thanks for listening. I'll see you next time.
Quick question. Do you want travel tips from people who have actually been there?
Our show is co-hosted by Tim Johnson, an award-winning travel journalist who's been to more than 145 countries around the world. And I'm David Brody, the other co-host who's been travel podcasting for 20 years while traveling to 50-plus countries around the world.
In about 10 or 20 minutes per show, we break down a destination with the kind of insight you usually only get from long guidebooks or hours of research.
So if you want expert advice, zero fluff, and travel inspiration that you can actually use, search for Travel in 10 wherever you listen to podcasts, or you can also find us at boyescape.com.
Hi, I'm Pauline Fromer, host of the Fromer's Travel Podcast. We post new episodes weekly, detailing the kinds of money-saving tips and cultural insights that will make your trips richer without making you significantly poorer. We do so by interviewing real travel experts like TV host Samantha Brown, Fromer's authors from around the globe, and such public figures as Free Solo's Alex Honnold. It's a fun travel party. I hope you can join us.